Heaven's Gate was a religious movement founded in the early 1970s by Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles, who believed they were the two witnesses prophesied in the Book of Revelation. Originally operating in physical communes and small gatherings, the group taught that Earth was on the verge of being recycled and that salvation would come through leaving behind human bodies to ascend to a next level of existence. This philosophy, though deeply rooted in 1970s New Age culture and Christian esotericism, found renewed life on the early internet. In the mid-1990s, Heaven's Gate became one of the first new religious movements to establish a sophisticated online presence. Through their website, maintained under the domain heavensgate.com, the group distributed their teachings globally, unfiltered by traditional media gatekeepers. The site offered transcripts, videos, and detailed doctrinal material, positioning their belief system as accessible to anyone with an internet connection. The minimalist, stark design of the page reflected the group's ascetic values, while the messaging emphasized the urgency of joining them before the impending evacuation. The internet allowed Heaven's Gate to extend its reach to isolated individuals across the United States and beyond, those who may not have otherwise encountered or accepted their beliefs in a traditional communal setting. Their adoption of digital communication prefigured how online spaces would later become fertile ground for the proliferation of fringe ideologies and alternative spiritualities. In 1997, the group's narrative culminated tragically when 39 members, including Applewhite himself, died by mass suicide in a rented mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California. They believed that their souls would ascend to a spacecraft trailing the Hale-Bopp comet. In the aftermath, their website remained online, maintained by surviving members, and transformed into a haunting digital artifact. It became one of the earliest examples of how the internet could preserve the presence of a movement even after its physical end. Today, the Heaven's Gate website still exists largely unchanged since the 1990s, serving as a digital time capsule. Love Has Won was a new age religious movement founded by Amy Carlson, known to her followers as Mother God. Originating in the late 2000s, the group combined elements of spiritual ascension teachings, apocalyptic prophecy, and loose Christian motifs. While Love Has Won maintained small in-person gatherings, its true growth and notoriety unfolded almost entirely through the internet. Amy Carlson, claiming to be a divine being reincarnated more than 500 times, including as Jesus Christ and Marilyn Monroe, leveraged online platforms to construct and broadcast her cosmology. Beginning with Facebook groups and YouTube live streams, the group created a steady stream of content, daily energy updates, spiritual guidance sessions, and call-in shows, where Carlson and her inner circle directly addressed their growing audience. Their messaging promised imminent planetary ascension, personal healing, and salvation through unwavering allegiance to Mother God. Love Has Won's internet lore is characterized by its surreal blend of mystical jargon, pseudo-scientific claims, and fantastical narratives involving galactic federations and multidimensional warfare. Their constant presence on social media allowed them to reach seekers worldwide, many of whom were drawn in during moments of personal vulnerability. The group monetized this attention by selling 5D healing sessions, spiritual products, and online courses, further entwining spiritual devotion with commerce. Controversy and concern followed closely behind. Families of followers, former members, and watchdog organizations accused the group of manipulative tactics, emotional abuse, and coercive control. Carlson's increasingly erratic behavior, often live-streamed in real time, revealed the darker side of the internet cult dynamic, the unfiltered exposure of both devotion and deterioration to a global audience. In April 2021, Amy Carlson's body was discovered mummified and adorned with glitter in a Colorado home occupied by her followers, sparking international media coverage. The physical death of Mother God fractured the group, but remnants of Love Has Won persist online under new names and movements. The story of Love Has Won remains a chilling reminder of how charismatic leadership, amplified through digital platforms, can forge intense, insular belief systems. NXIVM, founded in 1998 by Keith Rainier, began as a self-improvement organization offering executive success programs and personal development workshops. Outwardly corporate and structured like a professional coaching enterprise, NXIVM built its initial reputation through in-person seminars. However, by the 2000s and 2010s, it had embraced the internet as a crucial tool for expanding its influence, recruitment, and control. NXIVM's online footprint included a network of websites promoting various subsidiaries, testimonials from participants, and sleek promotional materials, positioning Raniere, often referred to as Vanguard, as a world-leading thinker. Private forums, encrypted messaging, and video lectures were central to internal operations, allowing teachings to permeate and monitor the daily lives of members even from a distance. Social media was employed both subtly and explicitly to maintain public narratives, present the organization as reputable, and counteract emerging criticisms. Behind this polished digital facade, NextIVM operated as a rigidly hierarchical system, where members were gradually drawn into deeper and more secretive circles. Chief among these was DOS, a clandestine subgroup where women were recruited under false pretenses, branded with Raniere's initials, and subjected to coercive control. Communication within DOS often took place via encrypted apps, and collateral, compromising material used to ensure loyalty, was often collected and stored digitally. The internet played a paradoxical role in NXIVM's collapse. Investigative journalism, survivor accounts, and leaked information circulated rapidly online, allowing a broader audience to witness the organization's abuses. Public exposure, accelerated by social media and digital news, catalyzed federal investigations that ultimately led to Raniere's 2018 arrest and 2020 conviction on charges including sex trafficking, racketeering, and conspiracy. Today, remnants of NXIVM's ideology persist through loyalists who maintain websites and online spaces defending Raniere. QAnon is a sprawling and decentralized conspiracy theory movement that emerged from the internet itself, rather than from a traditional religious or charismatic figure. It originated in October 2017, when an anonymous user known as Q began posting cryptic messages on the image board 4chan, claiming to possess high-level U.S. government security clearance. These Q drops allege the existence of a hidden cabal of Satan-worshipping elites engaged in global child trafficking and plotted a coming mass arrest known as the Storm. The internet was not merely the medium for QAnon's spread, it was its native environment. Early followers meticulously archived Q's posts, interpreting and amplifying them across platforms like Reddit, YouTube, Facebook, and later, more niche forums, such as 8kun and Telegram. The movement's participatory nature, encouraging individuals to do their own research and decode clues, transformed QAnon from a fringe theory into a sprawling online cult, fueled by constant interaction, collective storytelling, and viral dissemination. Unlike traditional cults, QAnon lacked a central physical location or visible leadership structure. Instead, its adherents were bound by a shared epistemology, distrust of mainstream media, veneration of an imagined savior figure, initially Donald Trump, and belief in a hidden, cosmic struggle between good and evil. Memes, YouTube documentaries, and amateur investigative threads became sacred texts in this digital theology, while algorithms on major platforms often recommended increasingly conspiratorial content, deepening the movement's hold. By 2020, QAnon had leapt from online spaces into real-world action. Followers participated in protests, political campaigns, and eventually the January 6th Capitol attack in the United States. Deplatforming efforts by major tech companies scattered the movement across less regulated corners of the internet, where it splintered into myriad subgroups, each adapting Q's original mythology to local and global contexts. r/incels was an infamous online community hosted on Reddit, devoted to the experiences and grievances of involuntary celibates, individuals, primarily men, who define themselves by their inability to form romantic or sexual relationships despite desiring them. Although the concept of involuntary celibacy predates the internet, the culture surrounding it was profoundly shaped, accelerated, and radicalized through digital forums. Formed in the early 2000s, r/incels began as a nominal support community, but quickly devolved into a space characterized by misogyny, nihilism, and fatalistic worldviews. Members developed and shared a grim jargon, terms like Chad, Stacy, Black Pill, and looksmaxing, to articulate their theories about immutable hierarchies of attractiveness and social worth. The subreddit became a self-reinforcing echo chamber where hopelessness and resentment were valorized, and extreme views often went unchallenged or were celebrated. Through memes, personal confessions, and pseudoscientific treatises, they created a collective mythology that modern society was rigged against them by biological determinism and cultural decay. These ideas spread outward into broader internet culture, influencing other forums and spurring the development of adjacent subcultures like the black pill and incelosphere. The subreddit's visibility increased sharply following real-world acts of violence committed by individuals who identified with or were influenced by incel ideologies, most notably Elliot Rodgers' 2014 Isla Vista killings. In 2017, Reddit banned r/incels for violating policies against inciting violence, but the culture it helped incubate was not extinguished. Dispersed across other platforms like 4chan, dedicated forums, and private Discord servers, the incel community became more fragmented yet persistent, adapting to the ever-shifting landscape of online censorship and moderation. Today, it stands as a stark case study in how the internet can facilitate the creation of ideologically extreme communities. Bentinho Massaro is a self-styled spiritual teacher born in 1988 in the Netherlands, who emerged in the early 2000s as a charismatic figure within online consciousness communities. Massaro's philosophy weaves together elements of Advaita Vedanta, New Age spirituality, law of attraction, and futuristic utopianism. While he initially gained attention through in-person workshops and retreats, it was his extensive use of digital media that transformed his teachings into a widespread internet phenomenon. Massaro's rise was fueled largely through platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and later Instagram, where he posted hundreds of hours of seminars, Q&A sessions, and live streams. His speaking style, marked by intense self-assurance, rapid-fire philosophical speculation, and visionary promises of enlightenment, resonated with online audiences seeking direct, uncompromising spiritual leadership. His message often emphasized radical self-empowerment, that reality is a malleable projection of consciousness, and that followers could achieve godlike mastery over their lives through disciplined thought and intention. By mid-2010s, Massaro's ambitions extended beyond personal transformation. He spoke openly about building an enlightened society and leading a movement to awaken humanity within a few decades. His online communities, structured around private Facebook groups and subscription-based platforms, operated with hierarchical dynamics, where proximity to Massaro and adherence to his methodologies often became measures of spiritual advancement. Controversy soon followed. Former members and journalists raised concerns about psychological manipulation, emotional exploitation, and cult-like control within his inner circles. Allegations surfaced that followers were pressured to forsake critical thinking in favor of absolute trust in Massaro's vision. His retreats, particularly those marketed toward high-frequency beings, were depicted as environments where dissent was pathologized and devotion was normalized. Despite growing criticism, Bentinho Massaro continues to maintain an active digital presence. His websites, social media channels, and paid content offerings persist, attracting new followers drawn to the blend of metaphysical optimism and utopian futurism he promotes. His story exemplifies how the internet enables the rapid formation and mutation of charismatic spiritual movements, blurring the lines between inspiration, entrepreneurship, and authority in the digital age. Sherry Shriner was an American internet-based religious leader who developed a complex theology centered around extraterrestrials, biblical prophecy, and New World Order conspiracies. Beginning her public work in the early 2000s, Shriner claimed to be a servant of the Most High God, with special insight into a hidden cosmic battle between humanity and malevolent alien forces, particularly shape-shifting reptilian entities disguised as political leaders and celebrities. Rather than founding a physical community, Shriner built her following almost exclusively online. Through a sprawling network of websites, forums, YouTube videos, and social media pages, she disseminated her apocalyptic warnings and esoteric teachings. Her primary platform, The Watcher Files, along with personal blogs and web radio broadcasts, served as central hubs where adherents could study her revelations about alien infiltration, mind control technologies, and the coming end times. Schreiner's teachings blended traditional Christian millenarianism with modern conspiracy lore, presenting a worldview in which Earth was a battleground between good and evil forces operating through hidden dimensions. Her followers were instructed to create and distribute orgone energy devices to repel demonic and alien attacks, a practice that became ritualistic within the community. The internet's decentralized structure allowed Schreiner's message to spread virally, reaching isolated individuals who resonated with her narrative of hidden enemies and cosmic warfare. The insular nature of her online community contributed to real-world tragedies. In particular, the death of follower Stephen Mineo in 2017, under circumstances tied directly to conflicts within the group, drew national media attention. Critics described Schreiner's digital cult as fostering paranoia, dependency, and extreme alienation from conventional society, illustrating how online environments can magnify the intensity of belief systems without traditional checks and balances. Following her death in 2018, Sherry Schreiner's legacy endures through preserved websites, archived videos, and dedicated forums. Her movement exemplifies how the internet can enable the rise of decentralized, leader-centric belief systems, where mythologies of existential threat intertwine seamlessly with the mechanisms of digital communication, leaving a lasting imprint on the landscape of internet subcultures. The Finders was a small, secretive group formed in Washington, D.C. during the late 1970s by a man named Marion Petty, ostensibly presenting itself as a communal, alternative living society focused on philosophical exploration and self-sufficiency. The Finders operated quietly in physical spaces for most of its early existence. However, its internet lore would emerge decades later, largely shaped by conspiracy theories amplified through online forums, archival leaks, and digital reinterpretations. The group's notoriety began with a 1987 police investigation when two well-dressed men traveling with 6 unkempt children in Florida were arrested under suspicions of child abuse. Subsequent searches of properties associated with the Finders uncovered strange documents, photographs, and references to international activities, prompting a media firestorm. Although federal investigations were officially closed without charges, citing no evidence of criminal wrongdoing, the lack of transparency surrounding the case allowed rumors to fester and grow in digital spaces. With the advent of internet forums in the 1990s and 2000s, the Finders became a frequent subject of speculation among conspiracy communities. The release of partially redacted FBI files, coupled with vague government statements, fueled the belief that the Finders were part of a larger web involving intelligence agencies, occult practices, and child exploitation. On platforms like Reddit, 4chan, and conspiracy-focused websites, discussions about the Finders intertwined with broader narratives about secret elites, mind control programs, and deep state cover-ups. Internet lore about the Finders often exaggerates or extrapolates from sparse evidence, transforming a relatively obscure case into a cornerstone of digital mythology about hidden societies. References to the Finders are frequently linked to QAnon and similar movements, where it serves as historical proof of long-standing secret conspiracies against vulnerable populations.